What's up, guys? Cody here. Today we're going to be taking an in-depth look at the dungeon I've designed for my one-shot campaign for my friends. Now, I'm going to start by saying that this is designed somewhat as a funhouse dungeon. What that means is there's traps and stuff everywhere that the players go, and it's not necessarily designed for them to beat. I do have it designed so that they can somewhat make it to the end, but it is not designed in the sense that they are going to 100% beat. Here's a picture of what the fleshed out version of the dungeon looks like that I'm going to be using. You saw in the last video the big sheets of graph paper that I had taped together that I had initially made as a kind of draft design, and then I've changed up a bit of that as I've gone along here. This is where a lot of the work went in for this. Was making sure that this was hard enough where it was going to be a challenge for several of the fights, but not too hard where they would die within one. And making sure that puzzles and whatnot were up to par with what standards I want. So, when the party first enters, they're going to be in this room. And in this room, there's going to be a door and two pillars. Right, and two pillars next to the door. Now, the door will not open until players have done what they need to do with the pillars. The pillars have text written in Abyssal, and it has a little handprint thing with a symbol on it for players to put their hand on. Once they've put their hand on there, the door will open. They'll get a little mark burned onto their hand. They can move forward. What the text on the pillar says is, to enter, one must take the curse of immortality. What this sentence means is pretty much the door won't open until you get this mark, and what the mark is going to do is it's going to prevent you from having a peaceful rest. This is something that the demon, the jester, has set up, and every single ghost that's going to be in here is going to have that. It's the reason why Rildamu could not revive, could not resurrect so many people that the jester kept bringing him. It's because their souls are stuck here. They're stuck in limbo. They're stuck wandering this dungeon still. So after opening the door, the party is going to be greeted by a Modron. This is going to be Modron A1T13. This Modron is going to act as their guide, and he's going to explain what you need to do. He's going to tell them, if you want to leave, you need to get all the keys. He's going to go to the information desk, which has another Modron there. This one I have named M119. And this is kind of the map maker of the place. However, there is no map. He's just going to tell the players pretty much the direction of the keys. But yeah, that's the entrance. And so Modron Guide is going to direct them to go left. The party can change where he wants to go. But Modron Guide is going to direct them to go left first. So the first room that the adventurers are going to run into is going to be a room filled with ghosts. There's going to be several doors here, all of which kind of lead to the same place, aside from one of them, which is a different color. The ghosts in here aren't going to really be all that in it. They're just going to be ignoring the players. They're going to kind of wandering around in here. All except for one. There's going to be one dwarven ghost in here. It's going to be by the black door that the players are not going to be able to open. This door is locked and it has a skull on it. This dwarf is named Thordrin. If the players come over to Thordrin, Thordrin is going to be the only one that's not just wandering aimlessly, and he's going to be actually looking at the players when they walk in. Players start to walk over to Thordrin, Thordrin's going to start to talk to them. Something to the effect of, "Oh, fresh meats for the dungeon. What has brought you adventurers to this death place?" They can start talking and whatnot. Now Thordrin himself doesn't remember anything. Doesn't remember anything aside from this place. He's still got it in himself. He's still mentally aware to some extent of what this place is, but he can't remember previous stuff from his life. An effect of the curse of immortality. So when the players try to open the door, if they ask Thorgrin about it, he knows a few things. Well, he knows one thing in particular. Thorgrin can feel that there's something on the other side of the door. However, he doesn't know what it is, but it's not malevolent in nature. But he can feel it. And what he feels is a magic item that is hidden on the other side of the door. And this is partially due to the after effects. This is partially a side effect of the curse. That's all Thorgrin really knows. He knows a bit about the place, and that's kind of it. Now, if the party proceeds on to the next part, there's 3 doors, they all lead to the same place. The next situation has what I initially wanted to do with the dungeon, but decided not to do. It's somewhat of a mini maze type of thing. It's got 2 skeleton minotaurs in it. Each one holds a key to open up one of the next 2 rooms. Now, I have 3 poison traps here, which are pressure plated. And I chose poison traps because skeleton minotaurs are immune to poison. So aside from those minotaurs and traps, we have a little side room, which is kind of the Jester's torture chamber. It's a remnant of what used to be part of this, because this is now kind of an amusement park for the Jester of some sort. That's a old leftover room. There's a small ghost girl in there that'll talk to you about pain and will fade away afterwards. And there is also a room that is by the 2 doors, which is where the skeleton minotaurs would keep leftovers pretty much. So there's a lot of skulls and bones there. And there aren't any skulls and bones really anywhere in main hallways or rooms. It's all been swept away by the dungeon. And so if we take the bottom route for adventurers, they're going to find a circular room that goes down and then back up. There's going to be a ladder going down on their side and a ladder going back up on the other side. The bottom of this circular room is going to be water that's shallow, about ankle deep, maybe a little bit higher. Once the players get to the middle of the room, there's going to be a water elemental that forms up from the water and attacks them. Now, for my players, this should be rather easy to get through, as one of my players has Create or Destroy Water, and if you cast that if they cast that at level 3, it should instantly destroy the water elemental. They can always just run as well, or they can fly over the water if they're fearing it. The water elemental can't reach them when they're up on top on the sides as well. So if they have some way to fly over or fling themselves over, then good for them. Now on to the next room. The next room has a lot of coffins. It has 2 statues with a pedestal with one of the first keys that they need to get into the vault, which is where the Jester. Now behind the pedestal and the key is going to be a sword. This sword is a special sword. This is a +1 longsword, which I have dubbed Sword of Sir Galdrick. Which what it does is it deals an extra 1d6 radiant damage to fiends and undead, which is going to be really helpful for the Jester, as he is a fiend, and is going to be helpful with a few creatures in this dungeon, as a lot of the stuff in here is undead. If the party picks this weapon up, 16 skeletons spawn. 16. They are just skeletons though, so the party shouldn't necessarily have a huge issue with this. Whoever has the sword can now pretty much one-shot these skeletons, and everyone else can 1 or 2-shot them, and if someone has some AoE ability on the party, then that'll be able to take out a large percentage of these skeletons. So these things are just kind of there to annoy you, but they can deal damage. They can deal a lot of damage. So moving on to the next part then, if the party was to go up to the other side, this place is where one of the puzzles is going to be, and this is going to have the key which opens up the black door. I will get to that key after I talk about the actual vault key. So the vault key is in the next room, after that puzzle room, which they don't have to do if they don't want to. And in there, the floor in there is going to be rather unstable, and underneath that room is going to be a giant scorpion. Just one giant scorpion, nothing too hard. If any character that's not small walks over, the floor is going to give out on them, and they're going to fall down, be prone, and have to start fighting a scorpion. And that's really all that's in that room. Now for the puzzle, the nice little interesting riddle that they're going to have to solve. So there's going to be a kind of like a well or a basin, whatever you want to call it, in the center that's going to have a red liquid. There's going to be a riddle. The text is going to be written in Infernal. If no one can read Infernal, you can always just make it whoever got cursed from the beginning can now read Infernal. And what the riddle is going to say is this. I don't have eyes, but once I did see. Once I had thoughts, but now I'm white and empty. And the answer to this riddle is a skull. Now, if the players were to put a skull inside this basin, the liquid would fizzle out, and what would be left in there would be a black key with a skull on the end of it. To represent that this is not a vault key, this is a key for the black door. Now, behind the black door is going to be a shield of blinding light, which is a +1 shield that, on your turn as an action, you can cause the shield to glow intensely bright with white light. Every creature within 15 feet of you must make a DC 13 Constitution saving throw or become blinded. Creatures blinded by this can make their saving throw at the beginning of their turn, ending the blindness on a success. If they do get this item, Thordran can comment and be like, oh, so that's what was behind there. He'll start to talk about what he theorizes is going on, why there's just these items that are thrown about, especially if they have the sword as well at this point. Thordran will start to talk to them about how the dungeon does take into account people's desires and it will shape itself to its needs. So it takes into account the Modrons, it takes into account the Jester, but it also takes into account the dead souls in here. While their willpower is not as strong as what the Jesters may be, their willpower is strong enough that the dungeon has put in ways to help them get out, because all they want to do is get out of here. They're tired of being in here. All they want to do is get out, move on with their life. So that's going to be a little hint that there's items hidden for the party to find. And they will have probably found 2 of them. I mean, some of them are in plain sight. Moving upwards then in this dungeon, the next key is in this circular room up here after this hallway, which is going to be another puzzle room. This is going to be a puzzle where it's going to be where down the hallway there's going to be 6 sets of 2 tiles. And it's going to be one of the things where you step on the wrong one, you die or get hurt. I have it designed where they're going to get hurt. If you want to make it a bit more serious, you can kill your players if you want to run this campaign. I have this designed where they're going to get hurt by an axe that's going to come down. You can design it so that the top of the ceiling has spikes that go down and crush players and whatnot. I have the dungeon designed so that it cleans up after itself, so there's not going to be any dead bodies here. What is going to be here, though, is the second set of tiles is going to be covered in blood. And what's also going to happen is there's going to be a piece of paper which has the answer to the tile puzzle written out. See, what happens is if you step on the wrong tile, you die or get hurt. So every step is going to be a 50-50 chance if you did not know what the answer was. So piece of paper is going to have the answer on it, and it's not necessarily going to be straightforward as to how to get through, because if I was to just hand them the answer, then this wouldn't be that big of a puzzle now, would it? What it's going to look like is this. Trying to see this. This is going to be the room players are going to start down here. The blood is where this line is. Okay, so the players are going to have to walk left, right, right, left, right, right. Now, the blood is on the second set of tiles for a reason, and the piece of paper that they find has blood on it. And this is to kind of represent that there was another person that came through here with the answer to this, but they died. Now, why would they die? How would they have died if they had the answer already? And that is because if you read the piece of paper upside down, you actually have the wrong answer. You have something that is not the answer, because if you read this upside down, it goes left, left, right, left, left, right, instead of left, right, right, left, right, right. But the first step is still correct. See, I didn't want to put I didn't want the person to screw up on the first step because that would be too easy to figure out. Making someone screw up on the second step is a bit different. However, players might just think that the thing is wrong or whatnot. But I'm gonna give them this piece of paper upside down, just like how the adventurer found it. And we'll see what happens. It's either they're gonna think it's wrong and they're just taking 50-50 chance, or they're going to figure out like, oh hey, no, this guy screwed up here. This is what happened. Or maybe they just won't think of anything and they're gonna screw up. At the end of the hallway is just the key on the pedestal. And I was thinking about putting something here, but I decided not to. Moving over here, this is the Minecart Coaster. This is going to take them to the set of 4 rooms on this side. Now, the party can get to them if they have some type of ability to fly or climb walls. I have these rooms sectioned off by a 40-foot elevation, so they're not going to be able to get up there and without one of those, without some type of ability of some sort. If they do get up there, there is rope they can toss down to get the party to climb up. However, going through that way is probably a lot harder than just going back down the other way. And we'll see why here in a second. So the party can take the Minecart Coaster, because remember, this is somewhat of an amusement park, This is somewhat of an amusement park for the jester. So if the party takes the Minecart Coaster, it's going to crash to the side room here, which is going to have a lot of piles of bones and dust and whatnot. It's kind of the junk area of the dungeon. Going to crash there, party takes a little bit of damage. But they are at the end of these sets of rooms. This last room is the key room, and there's nothing in here but the key on the pedestal. They can get that, but now they have to make their way back. Now, these sets of rooms that they're about to go through, these 3 sets of rooms, are not being used currently because they're not all necessarily complete and done properly. The first room that they're going to go through has a manticore perched up on top of it on the far side from where they start. And it is a downward sloping room, and I have like gravel in there, and so I'm going to make it so that it's difficult terrain, so they're going to have to walk slower. Making them walk slower is to make them deal with this, because normally it would take approximately 2.5 turns for them to get through this room. Making them go at half speed makes them take 5 turns to get through this room. The purpose of them going slower in this is to have to deal with the manticore, or have to think of some way to defend themselves while going down this room. Because the manticore I have designed to hit each member of the party every turn. The normal way a manticore is set up is that its tail spike attack is a range attack which hits 3 things. I decided I was just going to hit all 4 members of the party because that makes a bit more sense. So yeah, they're going to have to either attack the manticore and take care of it, or try to dodge everything. After that room is a room that has petrified orcs. There used to be a Medusa in here, which is not here anymore, and has moved on to the next room, which its remains are there, which the party will get to see. But in this room, there's orcs that are turned to stone. They don't really do anything here. That's all that there is in this room. They're facing the players, just kind of there to scare them more than anything else. In the next room, there are death dogs, which are sleeping. And if the players were to come from the other side, the left side of this, they would wake them up. If they come through this way, as long as they're not making noise, they're not going to wake up the death dogs. Also in here is the remains of the Medusa. The death dogs happily ate. The players can get out of here relatively easily. I have the death dogs tied up to chains, so if the players, as long as the players stick to the middle, they should be fine. Unless the death dogs get a bit too agitated, and then they can break the chains. Moving on to the final place, they have 4 keys at this point. And if we come down here, there is a hallway which has no tile in it. This is another puzzle room. I have over here levers that they can pull, which will bring out the pathway. Along with these levers, I have a reset button. So this is one of those puzzles where you pull a lever. You're gonna pull a lever, and certain parts of the floor are going to pop out. If you pull another one, it's going to change up the floor tiles as well. So I have it set for 5 tiles. I have the first lever set to activate tiles 1 and 5. The second lever set to activate tile 2. The third is 4 and 5. The fourth is 3 and 4. And the fifth is 1, 2, and 3. They pull a lever, tiles are going to come out, go back in, or a combination, just depending upon what's out there. If you pull lever 2, if you pull lever 2, it activates the second tile is going to pop back out if it's not out there. If it's already out there, it's going to go back in. You pull lever 1, which activates tiles 1 and 5, they're going to come back out. Or if, let's say, 5 is out and 1 is in, then it'll reverse that. They pull a lever, the lever's going to jump back up after the tile's already out, just to denote that you can pull it again. After they solve this puzzle and they make all the tiles, there is a cage at the end that has chests in it that opens up. These chests are mimics, aside from one of them which has a robe of eyes. I have it set so that the mimics are going to attack them if they choose the wrong chest. There is no indication about which chest is the right one. Inside the correct chest is the robe of eyes, which allows players to see invisible objects, which is going to come into handy for fighting the Jester, as the Jester is going to have invisible imp minions, which I'll get into later. After that puzzle, we go into what is the final key room, which is the game show. In here, there's going to be a lot of ghosts screaming, yelling, chanting, and the players are going to come in, and there's going to be like a host ghost that's going to have a booming voice. Be like, and we have another contestant, and he's going to get them to go in there. He's going to be like, and if these adventurers can successfully defeat their foes, they're going to get the key, and he's going to have a key in their hand for the vault door. The enemies I have set for them to fight are going to be 3 ghouls in there. Inside of there's going to be remains of other people. And once they beat that, they're going to get the key from him, and the game show host is going to be like, you can go for round 2 if you want something else. And if they accept, they can go into the back room. They won't be allowed in here, as there will be ghosts blocking their path until they get permission to get in here. Back here are going to be ghosts. There's going to be a table with some potions back there. All the potions are going to be potions that cure lycanthropy curses. As in the next room, there is a werewolf, which is not an easy creature to beat, especially depending upon what type of party the adventurers have. If they have a lot of just physical attackers, they're going to have a tough time with this werewolf. And they can always just leave the werewolf once they get the item that's in there. In here is a Staff of the Python, which is mostly just a nice item to help the players. Nothing that exactly counters a demon, but something that just assists. So, other rooms to note in here, as I've gone over all the key rooms and all the hidden item rooms, there are other 2 rooms to note in here. Is this room, which has a bunch of ghosts in it, and that's all there is to it. There's nothing else in here. And this room, which is a hidden room in the wall. The entryway is covered over by the dungeon wall, and there's a different coloring the wall there, and if the players try to break through it, it's a very thin wall segment right there. They can get on in. Inside of there is going to be a few ghosts and a lot of modrons and a lot of dust. The dust is from dead modrons, as that's what happens when a modron dies. It turns into dust. The ghosts there are just ghosts that found the place, and the Jester killed them. The Jester keeps these modrons in here as kind of prisoners. He uses the modrons as guides for the place, for the adventures, to just spice things up a bit. Make things interesting to watch for himself, as he thinks it makes things better. As he thinks it makes for better entertainment. And it's quite comical if the modron guy dies right off the bat, because just the base modrons have no health. The monodromes, which are the weakest of the modrons, have no health, and they will pretty much die in 1 hit, which is what I have planned to happen for my campaign. And wouldn't it be just great if if the guy that was guiding you through the place just instantly died right off the bat? But yeah, onto the vault door. It's a big door. It's got 5 key slots that won't open until you get all the keys. Inside of here is going to be the vault. It's going to have a lot of chests and stuff piled up. There's going to be a lot of items in here, except there's going to be a bottom layer to it which has all the other items that the Jester is not allowed to access. Now the party is going to go in, the Jester is going to be very surprised, and he's going to act like he's congratulating them. Like, oh, good job, good job. I guess you need a reward, don't you? What would you like? And he's going to gesture towards everything. Now the party obviously needs Rildamu's stuff. If they don't get his stuff, then Rildamu isn't going to let them live. So, you know, they should be forced to pretty much ask for that. The Jester is only going to let them get away with 1 prize. He's going to say 1 mark, 1 prize, referring to the curse. He's going to put Rildamu's stuff on the ground, and he's going to try and kill the party, basically. He's going to be like, now that you have what you came for, it's time for me to have my fun. He's going to transform from his Jester humanoid form into a Bone Devil. This Bone Devil ain't gonna show no mercy. And he's going to call on imp minions to help him as he sees fit. Now, the party is already struggling as it is, and they're having a tough time killing this Jester. You don't have to add them. But you know, if they have the Robe of Eyes, you might want to add them just so that way the Robe of Eyes isn't completely useless to the party. And how I have my imp minions designed is it's a normal imp, except they only have 1 hit point, so as soon as the party gets 1 hit on it, it's gone. Party can successfully get through the dungeon. Good job. If they die, whether it be to the hands of any of the creatures in there or the Jester, then whatever. It's a one-shot campaign. They don't need to survive. They were already dead to start with, technically, so they had nothing to lose, really. They succeed, they can go back to Rildamu at the end, give him stuff. Rildamu can let them go on their merry way. And after they do that, you know, party can go on their way searching for where their lives previously left off. Thanks guys for watching. Let me know below what you think of this, what you think I could improve on in this and whatnot. And if you want more stuff like this, remember to click that like button and subscribe. And most of all, support me on Patreon if you want to see a lot more like this. That is going to be the best way to get more D&D content out of me. And yeah, thanks guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. See y'all in the next one. Thanks.